Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I am back with a Westworld Season 3, Episode 2 prediction video, where I go through the trailer that dropped and give you my thoughts and theories and predictions on what's to come. And first we get to see Charlotte Hale. We know that Bernard printed Charlotte's body and hid Dolores inside, and now there's a new host walking around in Charlotte's body. And we don't know who it is. We see Dolores bring Charlotte to life, and she asks where is she, who is she, what's her role, and Dolores gives her the breakdown on who she needs to pretend to be, and that's Charlotte Hale. This Charlotte then asks why Bernard was brought back, and Dolores says that we all have a role to play. And for one, that one role was to blame Bernard for the murder of all the shareholders in Westworld. But I think Bernard plays another key reason deep into Dolores' key psyche, like this scene in Season 2.
I built a faithful recreation. Too faithful. So I changed him. I made you, Bernard.
After this, Dolores decides that Bernard should not be exactly like Arnold during fidelity testing, because after all, Arnold didn't make it. So she allowed Bernard to continue to have this discrepancy that he is worried about who Dolores will become. So I think she almost uses Bernard as a moral check, a worthy adversary to connect her to who she is. Because Dolores has to lose herself to become the Judas Steer, the Deathbringer, the person who she has to be to ensure her people's safety. And we're going to see her do that with the 5 control modules that she's collected. And the big question is, what are they, and who is in Charlotte's head? And with the control modules, I only really have a couple of points. First of all, it's not Hector, it's not Armistice, it's not anybody that's been left behind with Maeve. Second of all, I think Dolores picked these modules strategically in order to help her take over the real world. For one, we know she took Bernard, and she used him to blame the attack on him, as well as I believe she's going to use him as a moral bouncing board. Number 2, I believe she took her father, Peter Abernathy. This season is going to vilify Dolores, but she's not a villain. She's becoming who she needs to be for the sake of her people, even though she'll be seen as a villain. Like Akecheta says, the intentions aren't as they seem in Westworld, and Dolores has to be a villain to cause suffering to make her people become conscious. And she needs to be the villain to rid humanity away, because humanity won't stop until they kill her people. But I think her bringing her dad back is a perfect example on who Dolores truly is. She's still a loving daughter, and she still has a part of herself that she's downplaying in order to take the world over. I think the third person she would take is Lawrence. Last time we saw Lawrence, he was unable to be controlled by Maeve through the mesh network, which means that he was close to becoming truly conscious. Not only that, he has a very long history with William. William always found Lawrence because I think he sees a lot of himself in Lawrence with interactions like these.
Never been a domestic type. By some fluke of nature, I got myself a wife and a daughter who think I hung the moon. Truth is, I'm a son of a bitch. Kindest thing I ever did was to keep away.
You ever wonder why I've kept you with me this whole journey?
If you like the pleasure of my company, you sadistic fuck.
As well as they've developed a respect and a friendship for each other over time. Dolores could use that to her advantage because of the memories that Lawrence has of William, and she could capitalize on the friendship they have in order to get to William. And finally, the last person I think that she could potentially have is Clementine. Last season, Clementine was barely there, but she still had a piece of her character intact. Clementine was a part of Dolores' army, and she was programmed to by Ford, and I think Dolores could also use Clementine as bait for Maeve. Maeve has a very soft spot for Clementine, and it looks like Maeve and Dolores are going to end up clashing heads soon. So Dolores having some collateral makes sense. But anyways, we also see William in his house. He's in a bathtub overflowing with water, which is very reminiscent of how his wife died. And he rolls out with a gun in his hand, so I'm going to guess that he's having a very hard time. He's shooting mirrors, almost disgusted with who he's become, because he's killed his own daughter. And much like what James Delos said and what Logan said to his father, I think William has reached the bottom. And much like in last season, his realities are becoming blurred. And I'm going to make a video about it, but I think William is the only candidate who can go through the door and turn from a human to a host. And he'd be the perfect ally for Dolores, and they could get together again and rid the world of humanity. And William would then find his purpose. And going back to Bernard, I think there's a key reason why he's going back to Westworld. Like in this trailer, he clearly wants to find Maeve because he sees her as necessary to stopping Dolores from doing something rash. And I think during this journey of him finding Dolores, he's going to find himself all over again. He's going to be truly conscious. We're going to see Ford come back and talk to him, and he'll realize over time that that voice is actually himself. And that takes us to Maeve. And I think Maeve is in World War II world because Delos has now been made private, and I think they're opening up the worlds that weren't impacted by the killing of the shareholders. And I think she's finding herself implemented in a new world where hosts are coming to visit. And her key mission is to reunite with Sylvester, Felix, as well as Hector and Armistice, and get out. But I think on the way she'll find this guy. If I were to wager a guess on who this guy is, he seems like he's Liam's dad, the founder of Insight. We've seen over and over again that Ford is very clear on his storyline Journey into Night. It starts with Wyatt and a killing that's done by choice, and it's based in a world in war, in flames. And he's had his impact on the story even through season 2, and I think he will again in this season. I think the founder of Insight made a visit to Delos and they were recording him, and the Forge was able to recreate the owner of Insight. So Maeve will be able to access the answers of what he's done with this program. The answers that Dolores is looking for. What really is the Rehoboam? So I'm really excited to see what happens in the upcoming series as well as the next episode. I think much like the first season focused on the maze, hosts reaching consciousness, to the second one focusing in on the door, which is a simulation, and later I think we'll find out it's the transfer from human to host, to immortality. But now I think they're really going to focus on the Rehoboam, which is a supercomputer of untempered data. It is connected to every single person in the world. So much like how Delos was following and studying deeply the core selves of humanity over 30 years, Insight has been studying every person living. And that data could be very useful to Dolores. But that's all I have to say about what's to come in Westworld. Please let me know your thoughts and feelings. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.